Hey folks, Micah McGee here. In today's video, we're going to pop over that hill and check out the freshly frosted potatoes, and we're going to look all over the place and look at my different clovers. This is going to be a two-part update, potatoes and clover. Let's go hit the potatoes right quick. Boy, oh boy, this does not look so great. These tops are just completely burnt back. The stalk still feels very sturdy, but the top leaves are completely burnt back and dead. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Let's take a look here. Here's one that's frosted pretty bad. Dig this bad boy up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. I felt a few roots breaking, so I don't have them all here, but check this out. So you can clearly see the tops are hurt. Now these little leaves down here are not hurt at all, and the stalks are still quite vibrant. And even if this was all dead, the root system would still be there, would still come right back. Matter of fact, the last time it happened to me, I actually had the best crop of potatoes I ever had, before or since. So that's kind of got me excited. This may be a bumper crop of taters. I'm going to plant this back in the ground. We'll take a look at some more of these here potatoes real quick before we head to the clover. Thank you, little buddy, for donating your little self to the cause. But you're okay. All right. Now, the way we planted these potatoes, from here, it only looks like a few rows. But they actually go all the way down the hill, as far basically as you can see down towards the woods. And the reason we planted them like this was to have strips of grass in between, since it is on a hillside, to help control erosion. And I can easily come through here, and I will, with my bush hog, and I'll keep this mowed. So that's the method to our madness here. Let's go on down and look at the clover. This is the field where I did the 3 clover experiment. Some of y'all haven't been around that long, and we're not talking very long at all. But last fall, I planted crimson clover over here, red clover here, and berseem clover over here. We had major problems. The berseem came up beautifully, but it frosted out, and what I read said it was more cold tolerant than crimson. And you can see right here, the crimson is growing fine. And I don't know how this crimson got in here. There's obviously some crimson mixed in with where I planted my red clover. There is some red clover in there. I'll show it to you up close in just a second. The berseem, I completely lost it all when it froze, so I disked it in January, believe it or not, and planted crimson clover in January. I've always been told, and I've always passed that information on, you can plant clover and grass any month that has the letter R in it. We put that to the test with our January, and I'm proud to announce that it is growing good. It won't be long. We always knew ever since we did our side-by-side test video of spring versus fall planting, obviously the fall planting is going to come and mature first. It's going to bloom out way ahead of the spring planting, but in Tennessee we've got a window of time. We don't have to get our corn in the ground within a week, or else it's going to freeze at the end. We have a nice wide window of opportunity, so that gives time for this to catch up. This, on the other hand, once it gets beyond full bloom stage, it starts going downhill as far as production of nitrogen. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to mow it, plow it under, so that we can capture that nitrogen and then let it set while this catches up. And then I'll have to do the same thing, and then we can plant our corn, because I don't want 2 different stages of corn. I want it all to come in at the same time so we can make our silage. Now let's take a look at these a little closer. Now this crimson clover is a no-brainer. It just absolutely produces for us. It's unbelievable. I'm going to cut just one little handful and show you. This is just what I could grab in my hand in one location. Just one little spot. That is a ton of forage. It's a ton of biomass that is loaded with nitrogen, and it's going to go into this soil. And I know a lot of people get upset, especially beekeepers, when I mow this down and I plow it under. It has to be done. I'm growing corn, not clover. As I clearly showed you last year, $537 or thereabouts I put into fertilize for that field over there, the same size as this field. I didn't have to put $1 into this field except for the clover seed. $500 something versus less than 200. It's a no-brainer. Let's move on to the red clover. This is not red clover. I know it's red. I know it's red as it can be. It's actually crimson clover. It's not red clover. Now you can clearly see the corn stalks here. This is where we left 3 rows right down the middle of this field for the wildlife. Later we come along and picked the best ears, and then I came along and I bush hogged, and you can see the wildlife ate the corn right off the cob. There's 2 kernels left right there that there's 3 more. Somebody was not due diligent. Come on, squirrels. Anyway, this just happens to be where I planted the red clover. My brother-in-law brought it down to me from Alberta, and I thought it didn't come up, and it didn't come. I had some serious issues. I had to plant this like 3 times to get a stand, but I got it, and I'll show you. I'm just going to pull some right here. It's just now starting to really show. It's small, but it's lush. It's actually probably a good thing that I'm going to have to wait on that crimson, which will give this red clover a chance to come up and produce a little more nitrogen. According to what I read, it doesn't have as much nitrogen as crimson, by far. But hey, what's a test for if you can't experiment? So that's what we're doing. We're going to let that also mature, and I hope that it comes to head and blooms about the time that the late crimson clover blooms. Then we can see not only the true side-by-side test for nitrogen in how it is reflected by the corn, but we'll be able to see the difference in color between a red clover and a crimson in real time right here on the place. Let's go look at the late crimson. You'll be surprised. Now, the one thing that's going to strike you off the bat right away is the amount of grass. This place is full of grass, and it was all the same cornfield except for about, from right here over was potatoes. And I did have some issues with some grass growing up in my potatoes last year, but not all this. This is interesting how that it has come back. But last year was the first year I turned it from being about 3 years of the imperial whitetail clover I had right here. And slowly but surely the grass overtook it. And I showed ways of circumventing that for a few years. But finally it just got to the point where I needed more ground for corn anyway, so I just turned it. So that's what this is all about. That's what the grass is all about. But if you think the grass is a problem, think again. That grass is triggering that clover and telling it we need more nitrogen. And that clover is going to make more nitrogen probably than that over there, even though I did mix some oats with that over there. But let me pull some of this for you and show you what we got going here. This was planted in January. This is just one little handful. That is unbelievable. Look how lush that is. That frost last night didn't hurt it a bit. And I mean, it's coming too. So, yes, the spring planting, actually it was winter, January. The winter planting, it does come on later than the fall planting. And this coming fall, I don't think I'm going to do no experiments. I think it's all going to be crimson, solid all the way over. I think I know what I set out to learn. But that's beautiful. So something that I did not realize before was that the tops, these tops of the clover have so much nitrogen to offer your soil. I thought it was mostly in the roots. And obviously the grass and the oats and wheat that's triggering that nitrogen under the soil is creating nodules of nitrogen under the soil. But what I didn't realize is the air is 78% nitrogen. That's hard to believe. 78% nitrogen. And these plants are harvesting that nitrogen out of the air. Therefore, when you plow it under, you're getting that full amount trapped in there. And it's very important to get it under the dirt where the sun can't hit it, because the sun kills nitrogen. The sun is a nitrogen killer. You don't want it sitting on top. That's why when I have to plow that under, when I mow that in full bloom, which it basically is in full bloom now, I got to get it under the ground because I don't want to lose all of that nitrogen. It will absolutely sap it. So that's my potato and clover update. I hope you enjoyed it. I have always been passionate about the clover. For the last few years, I have seen it do amazing things. I've seen it grow great stands of corn. I've seen it save me hundreds of dollars, and I've seen it feed a lot of cattle and pigs. So that's all we got for you. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you on the next video.